Thank you, everyone, for joining us this morning, this afternoon, or late in your evening, depending where you're at. It's a pleasure to meet everyone virtually on our brief conference here and live demo of unlocking the future of cybersecurity using AI assisted playbooks and AI generated playbooks as well. So, my name is Virgil Renz. I'm the Chief Innovation Officer here at AI Edgelabs. I come with a background in both cybersecurity, telecommunications, and secure hardware development. So, been around the industry for quite a while. I'm joined with my esteemed colleague, Sergey Przhenko, and he is located in Poland, and he is our Chief AI Scientist. So, I appreciate everyone joining today. I'm going to kick off things with a brief presentation, and then we'll get into our demonstration of the AI assistant, as well as our security solution and dashboards. So just a little bit of background. AI Edge Labs was founded in 2017. We actually have a background in anti-fraud solutions for the mobile application and gaming space. And in the process of doing that, we amassed a lot of capabilities around AI and ML. So we started developing a product specifically for Linux. It's a software-based agent that can be easily deployed that combines a lot of functionality. So we've actually gotten some really good industry recognition from CyberTech 100, STL top 100 edge computing companies, and a Best in Show winner from Embedded World. So if you think about the broad Linux ecosystem, our product pretty much fits into anything Linux based for the most part. So we'll go through that in just a bit. So what do we do? Our cybersecurity software agent and our platform combine together an ultra efficient, lightweight agent for endpoint detection and response, IDS and IPS capabilities, as well as container security. That allows us to do things with our advanced AI and ML that lives in our agent, such as do zero-day detections, detect complex multi-chain attacks. The other thing is we're very easy to deploy. So it's a Docker-based agent. We can deploy on OpenShift, Kubernetes, edge orchestration platforms, a multitude of different ways. And our network detection and response capabilities are very unique in that we can protect up to 48 ports or VLANs on a single device and still maintain a very, very low consumption of CPU. And then lastly, the topic of today's discussion, we combine all of this on our backend cybersecurity portal for analysts with our AI assistant. And our AI assistant can do a lot of things. So we're happy to demonstrate that here in just a moment. So what are some of the benefits, right? When we think about blending AI both within an agent, but also on the back end from a portal cybersecurity dashboard perspective and a portal perspective, we have the ability to do enhanced incident response. So we can significantly improve the speed and process a large amount of data. This helps to build efficiency with the analyst so they can identify and mitigate threats much more effectively. Secondly, we can automatically generate playbooks. So we can combine all of the threat information, all of the alert details, combine that with MITRE ATT&CK, and then we can actually produce a playbook out of that. And so some of that translates into being able to really mitigate complex attacks and do it in a very efficient manner. So we have the ability to generate scripting for Linux and or playbook generation for solutions like Ansible, as an example. So then the other big thing that we do is we enrich that incident data, because the data is only as good as being able to help that analyst gather it quickly, identify what the risks are, and then apply risk mitigation strategies to that. So we combine large language model processing with the incident data, and then we contextualize that threat. We're then taking that and cross-referencing that against the MITRE ATT&CK framework, the MITRE ATT&CK knowledge base, and then tactics, techniques, and procedures that are being used by adversaries, including advanced persistent threat groups. So by utilizing this combination, we can effectively look to provide more attributes around the threat, and then we can also enhance the ability to prevent future attacks. So this is just a little bit of our partner ecosystem. So we are partnered with a number of edge orchestration platforms. We are certified on Red Hat, Red Hat for Edge, Red Hat OpenShift, OpenShift Operator. We work with companies like Intel, Stratus, OnLogic, Lenovo, Lanner, just to name a few. And these partnerships enable us to protect a myriad of products. If you see NVIDIA up there, we do work on the NVIDIA Jetson platform. So this gives us a unique capability in the Linux ecosystem to really protect a lot of different assets, everything from edge compute all the way up into telecommunications infrastructure as an example. So that will conclude the presentation portion. And if you bear with me one moment, I will switch into our live demo. Just talk a little bit about the platform itself. So the Edgelabs platform provides comprehensive cybersecurity details to analysts to help speed their workflows, but we also auto mitigate threats using AI and ML within our agent. And then we combine all of that information on our dashboards inside of our cybersecurity portal. So you can see here, we're looking at 90 days worth of data. We've got the total alerts that are indicated here. And then what we do is we combine these together, and we also deduplicate through this process to create escalated incidents. The last thing that analysts want to do is have to manage a massive alert volume. You could see, case in point, just in the last 90 days alone generated in our lab, we have 2,117 alerts. That translates into 46 escalated incidents. And then we can manage this through our ticketing system as open investigations. One example would be maybe there's a tier one analyst and it's a complex looking threat that they want a higher level analyst to take a look at. We can actually assign those as an open investigation, and then we can move those up from a tier perspective inside of the Security Operations Center. So when we look down below, we can see how many incidents have been assigned to certain individuals. We can see what our high impact incidents are, and these are all rated by criticality. So we've got, critical, high, medium, low, as you would imagine. And then we also have prioritization based on the agents. And this is important because if we look here, we've got a couple of agents that only have a couple of incidents assigned, but we have this customer one, node one, that's getting hammered with cybersecurity incidents. So probably want to prioritize looking into that specific agent first. The next thing that we do is we actually map everything to the MITRE ATT&CK framework. So we look at both the tactics and the techniques that are being used by adversaries, and then we take all of this data, aggregate it, and then we rank it based on the specific tactic or technique. So for example, we're seeing a lot of direct network flooding going on. So there's some holes that we need to plug in our network in order to contain this particular incident. The next thing that we see is top network alerts. And so this is going to tell us what we have going on based on our network, and then our top endpoint alerts as well. And these are going to be specific to what is going on within the agents, terminal shell and container, or a Docker client tool is launched inside of the container. And then we also have a top attacker list. And then we have our agent overview. This will show how many are online, and it'll also show the inbound and outbound traffic over time. This is also important because if we see large amounts of, let's say, outbound traffic that looks anomalous, that could be indicative of something like data exfiltration. So all of this combined gives the analyst a really good view into what is going on in the network. So we're going to take a look at the last hour, and we have 0 alerts going on here in the last hour. What I'm going to go ahead and do now is I'm going to actually generate some attacks here. And in this particular scenario, we're going to look at an NCAT attack. This one is using multiple different techniques and procedures in order to launch a malicious program. Secondarily, it's going to try to hide its tracks, clearing logs, deleting the history, and then also some evasion techniques. So we'll go ahead and we're going to fire off this attack and start this up. And if we watch on the right-hand side of the screen, you're going to be able to see that we're running this NCAT remote code execution in the container. We're installing the NCAT utility. We're searching for private keys or passwords, and that's going to attempt to find those. And then you look for insecurely stored credentials that we may be able to use to escalate privilege with. or carry out other nefarious actions. Now comes the evasion. I'm an attacker. I want to cover my tracks. So we're going to clear that log activity. And we're also going to delete or rename that shell history within that bash history file. So that is going to demonstrate exactly what has happened here. And then if we go back to our dashboard, what we're going to see is all that alert data just came in. So now we know something is going on within our network. And so what I'll do is I'll go in and I'm going to look at my endpoint first. And I can see that my endpoint just got hit with a critical critical rated severity incident. Drag and drop and execute binary in the container. And this is where our AI assistant really comes in. So we'll provide a quick overview to the analyst of exactly what this incident is. We rate this in terms of severity. We assign an incident ID to it. We map the MITRE tactics and techniques. In this case, it's persistence, compromising client with a software binary. We know which particular agent this was detected on and the detection time. And then we generate a summary, the classification, the explanation, the impact, and then a recommendation. As an analyst, this is good. Maybe if I'm just checking low severity stuff, but I need a lot more detail. So as I go into my screen on the detail side, you can see we have a lot of the same information as echoed here that was in the quick view. But now we've got more details. We know what the username was. It was root, username login ID, the process name, the process ID, the parent name, run C. And then we can go in and get a lot more detail as to what's going on. Again, we get this interpretation. So in the explanation, this turns all of this back-end data that would otherwise be pretty cryptic to an analyst, right? Trying to interpret all of this data. We apply LLM and we combine that with the MITRE attack techniques and procedures on the tactics and technique side. And then we provide specific detail as it relates to this alert. So we see that this is an execution of NCAT command. It's being targeted with this command at this specific IP address within the container run C. So this is marked as a writable and upper layer attribute. It's indicative of an unauthorized or potentially harmful activity. And then this gives the specific MITRE attack tag, suggesting that this is a persistent tactic. It's used to maintain unauthorized access. It tells us this incident can compromise the integrity of security in the container environment and potentially lead to unauthorized access of sensitive data. Here are some recommendations, right? But the AI assistant goes beyond that. The AI assistant allows us to go in and say, here's what happened. As an analyst, what should I do? So in this case, we can use some of the prompted cues and say, how can I immediately isolate the affected container? And what the AI assistant will do is it will allow me to get all of the commands at my fingertips of what I need to do to isolate that affected container. In this case, pause the container, disconnect it from the network, stop the container, verify the container status. And then there's recommendations for the analyst. Forensic analysis, log analysis, patch and update. So now we have definitive ways that we can mitigate this risk. Review the Docker file and the base image. Implement more network policies that restrict the container communication or limit the exposure. And then automate security scans. So in this case, if this was a CI/CD pipeline, you want to make sure that you're going to be keeping that away from people accessing these binaries from an unauthorized perspective and maintaining the integrity of the container image. Now we can go in and say, how can we conduct forensics? Again, two-stage process. Stop the container, mitigate that risk. Now, how can we begin our forensic analysis? Very important for why this might have happened in the first place. So as we go back up, identifying the binary file. So we've located that. Here's where it's at. We can verify the file type. In this case, it's NCAT. We can check the embedded strings. Again, we go through this, disassemble the binary, And here are all the commands, right? I can cut and paste these and put these right into the Linux environment and carry these all out. Next thing we can do is calculate a hash. So we can look at this and say, is this a malicious known hash? Right? And if it is, definitely need to stop this from further exploiting systems. Go in and review the metadata. Right? Was there modification? Was there anything that was done to the history that's indicative of somebody trying to use an evasion technique? And then we can analyze the network history, review the system logs, check for known vulnerabilities, and then conduct a code review if it's applicable, right? So let's say, for example, there was a script or something that had an unexpected command. Maybe somebody did some script modification. Use version control history. And then what do you need to do, right? If you've got something that's indicative of an attack or a potential breach, we need to document our findings. We need to report and mitigate. And then we also, if we have a threat intelligence database, we need to update that and share that threat intel with the rest of the team. Now the next step is we can actually generate information and action playbooks. So as we do this for generating the playbooks, you can see here's the information. The objective is to gather more details and information around the nature of this unauthorized access to this binary, assess the impact, identify and associate risks. So what do we need to do? We need to inspect this process. So we're going to run this command in Docker, this Docker command, and then we're going to check that NCAP process is still running and gather some additional information about it. We can review the command history. We can audit the container logs. I can audit the bash history for root, right? I can examine the network connections. Maybe we've got something going on the network side that this process has basically started some ongoing data transmission to an unknown third party. So we want to make sure we mitigate that risk and that breach potential. Checking for file access and modifications. And then here's all the commands to basically generate an informational playbook. And then now we can create an action playbook, right? So now we've gathered the information, we've done the forensic information automatically, and now we want to run a script to basically terminate this NCAP process, right? So the first thing is terminating the process, block any network ports that were used by NCAP, blocking the incoming connections from that suspicious IP, disabling the NCAT execution. So we want to stop this process. This NCAT should never be happening in our network. Should never be happening on our devices. So we want to change the permissioning, get rid of that from an executable standpoint. Then we want to isolate the affected container and then generate an action playbook, right? So there's all my commands automatically generated, making the analyst's lives a lot easier. And then I can also ask this question. I can say generate an Ansible playbook to stop this attack, right? So this goes beyond just what's pre-built in. We can say, I want to basically generate this Ansible playbook. And it's going to go through a similar process, telling you exactly what you need to do. And then as we go down this, it's going to generate the playbook, and then we'll generate a YAML file or the script for a YAML file. So there's our acting playbook, and let's say create an Ansible playbook to stop this attack. So now it's going to go and generate the Ansible playbook. So we've got all of our information has been built into this process. I'll scroll back up in a moment after it finishes completing, and we can review this very quickly. So now I have my Ansible YAML file script. So if we think about, running a SOAR tool, whether it's Ansible or another solution in the marketplace, our solution can generate various different playbooks for different tooling in the marketplace. So this will basically generate this. And so anytime there's an attack moving forward and it's detected, maybe you're using a SIM on top of our product, or you're using a SOAR tool in conjunction with a SIM, now you have an automated playbook that was generated that you can go ahead and implement to mitigate this risk in the future. I can also ask it questions like, how does this attack map to NIST 800-53? All right, or NIST 800, just general NIST. So we could see that this goes through and it'll actually map everything that we're doing into NIST. So if you're using a particular regulatory or compliance framework, we can add that to our LLM models, and then this can generate, based on the specific regulatory and compliance framework that you're using, additional details for the analyst so they can see exactly where this fits into the framework and what security controls are recommended based on this type of an attack. So we are really putting a lot of information at the fingertips of analysts in order to stop these attacks and these breaches from happening. I want to thank everyone for your time, whether it was early morning, mid-afternoon, or late evening, for our participants around the globe. Again, my name is Virgil Renz. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm the Chief Innovation Officer here at AI Edgelabs. And for those of you who are interested in a follow-on demo, please email Suri Prashenko, and we'll be more than happy to set that up after the event. Once again, thank you for attending. It was great meeting everyone, and have a great day.